Let's talk about climate change. What exactly does it mean to be a supporter of the political climate change emergency? Why do I use the term political? It is because what is being seen to be done, or rather the manner in which the climate is being exploited for political and financial gain, is not the same as what really needs to be done. In recent years, we have had to endure crippling green levies on our fuel and our energy. Hard-working people struggling to keep warm because the cost is prohibitive. But where is all the money going? Net zero costs the UK a total of £30 billion per year, with £10 billion alone being used for subsidies, money given to businesses for projects considered to be green, like wind turbines. Broadly deciphered, that means that people are making millions whilst you live in fear of turning your heating on. Is that actually helping the environment, or is this little more than outwardly virtue signalling and privately exploiting climate change for financial benefit? Emissions in the UK and Europe as a whole have been decreasing for years, and providing that there is a clear directive, it will continue to do so. And whilst this is also very important, it is not the immediate emergency. China increases its output of emissions by more than the entire total of the UK every month, if not more. They have over 800 coal-fired power stations on the way, with India not far behind. In fact, China has polluted more in the last 5 years than the UK has since the Industrial Revolution. Let that sink in. What constitutes a greater demand for action? Hundreds of coal-fired power stations with numbers increasing every month, or reducing one of the lowest emissions in the Western world by little more than a slither? Does extorting £30 billion from the UK economy every year to make those exploiting climate change rich change the weather? Does forcing those who cannot afford to buy a newer car to pay £17.50 per day to drive into London, whilst those who can afford to pay are permitted to pollute as much as they wish, actually change the weather? Do wind turbines run on wind, or do they run on subsidies? For the answer, follow the money. We are losing thousands of acres of farmland to solar farms and wind turbines every year. Millions of trees being chopped down, but apparently, if we object, we are ignorant and we must follow the science. Well, I have done that, and every scientist worth their salt agrees that the way to cool a planet down is to plant trees, not chop them down. Isn't it strange that when it comes to this topic, scientists are so petrified of being cancelled that they refuse to speak up? I can name one in particular. His name is David Bellamy. Remember him? There was a photo released a few years ago of a polar bear on a small block of ice, with the message that the bear's environment was melting. But David Bellamy correctly responded to say that polar bears actively seek small blocks of ice because they can reach the water on all sides to catch fish. This did not go down well with the narrative, and David Bellamy was cancelled and has never been heard from on mainstream media ever since. Any contradiction to the narrative is met with climate denier and climate delayer, especially from the likes of Ed Miliband, who has serious plans to make you pay dearly. Here is a man who is a disciple of the corporations, and one who is prepared to destroy our economy just to earn himself a handsome reward when he leaves politics, like so many before him. So what is important at this point? What would I do? I am very passionate about the climate, but I do not support virtue signalling, misinformed taxation and exploitation of the climate to control and punish the masses. Firstly, we must address what we can do immediately, and one of the greatest threats to life on this planet is currently microplastics. Just last year at Glastonbury, there were thousands of young people there, all angry about the climate, being hosted by a very angry young Swedish girl. I'm sure you know who that is, who incidentally has made millions out of being angry. But guess what they left behind? Yes, over 1 million plastic bottles. The hypocrisy beggars belief. So, step 1, ban plastic bottles for water and soft drinks immediately. And when I say immediately, I am talking within weeks or months. Every public building, every shopping mall, market square, motorway services, railway station, airport, and so on to have public fountains within weeks. Step 2. Every other product that is sold in plastic to be assessed on a case-by-case basis until many consumer products as possible are no longer sold in plastic. It is an irrefutable fact that this would make a massive difference to the microplastics that are polluting our rivers, our oceans, and gradually making their way into the food chain. Step 3. Scrap ULEZ, the greatest political scam in decades. Central London is unique, of course, with amazing transport facilities, and most people don't mind using it. I would propose a gradual reduction on long stay parking within central London, discouraging people from driving into it, creating a much more pleasant environment. For outer London and beyond, I would propose a gradual reduction of emissions on a sliding scale over a decade at least, which would enable people to gradually buy cleaner cars as they would normally do. What I do object to is those who can pay to pollute as much as they wish. This smacks of dystopia to me, not climate change. Step 4. No more farming land to be set aside for solar or wind farms. All new buildings to have solar panels on their roofs. And whilst we lose essential farming land, we only produce 50% of our food, remember. South Korea has been installing solar panels on the central reservations of their motorways, providing cleaner energy and doubling as cover for a cycle lane. We cannot afford to lose any more farmland. We need to reach 70% of our food needs or risk starvation if there is another serious conflict. Or is that the idea? I'll let you decide. Step 5. We must seriously reconsider the trade we do with the likes of China when they are choking the planet. This is where reality meets virtue signalling, because those in power do not want this. They're not concerned about cleaner air. They are concerned about geopolitics and profit. Who is the climate denier here? You tell me. I fervently believe that we must take immediate action to reduce pollution and emissions, but tangible steps that make sense, not regulation, taxes and control that is nothing more than an insult to science, the planet and the people. I want to see sensible steps being taken with immediate effect, steps that make sense and steps that you, the people, will understand and support. But there again, that would deny the likes of Ed Miliband the opportunity to punish you, exploit you and dictate to you on the grounds of climate change, which is little more than premeditated misdirection in order to win favour with his globalist friends who want nothing more than to impose 15-minute cities upon you and turn your localities into virtual open prisons. Let's take steps to save our planet now. Let's do what we know will make a difference. But I do not and never will support the enslavement of people under the guise of climate. Who really supports the care of our environment? You tell me.